Welcome to Vidyamitra Talk, a podcast where we bring you real conversation with people who have built meaningful careers, business, and impact. This series is designed exclusively to help working professionals, aspiring entrepreneurs to gain clarity and confidence, and more importantly, direction from the real life who have walked the talk and not only from books and theory. Today we have with us a beautiful lady. She is a belief work practitioner, a mind body integration specialist who helps people understand and transform their inner systems that shape their lives. She has over 13 years of experience as a faculty, a mentor, a coach, and her journey began in the classroom. And later, she discovered how beliefs silently influence thoughts, emotion, health, relationship, and life choices. Today, she focuses on belief transformation, emotional awareness, and healing at the root. Through her framework design of self expression, she guides people to take conscious control of their inner patterns, leading to lasting changes in physical and mental health. More importantly, relationships and everyday decisions. Now, what she uniquely does, she creates awareness, she helps in experiential coaching to create transformation that is natural, sustainable, and deeply personal. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss Kritika for our podcast series. Hi, Kritika.
Hey Vinod, thank you so much for this lovely, beautiful introduction that you gave about me. And hi to all the audience out there. And thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast.
So sweet of you. When I read the profile, it's very interesting. But more importantly, what was that thought or the trajectory you went through being a faculty, enjoying the classroom, happy with the assignments, giving certain textbooks, models? Now you are a belief practitioner and you are transforming lives. Can you share some thought? What was that spark you had to get onto this space?
Very rightly and beautifully, you said being in classrooms, enjoying with students, giving assignment, homework, have textbook models and everything. But through many years, I was like deeply involved in teaching, mentoring, coaching, training, and then guiding students. It was amazing to do it. I was growing, I was contributing, I was really doing some meaningful work. But at the surface level, it felt like, wow, it's amazing. Everything is going right for me. But somewhere deep within, I felt something is incomplete. There's something more to explore. That is when I realized this subtle, powerful difference that actually exists between loving what we do and doing what we love, right? So when we are loving what we are doing, that mostly comes in from adaptation. We are adapting to the scenario. We are loving. Love is still there, but we are adapting. But when we are doing what we love, I think that's more of where you feel aligned, where you feel connected to, okay, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I see myself doing. So this realization kind of like shook me, but I wasn't still ready to take that leap. So, it's not about what kind of roles I play, what about the achievements and nothing of that. It's just about how you feel within. So, this sense of incompleteness took me inward. I began asking a lot of questions. Uh, from the time I was a kid, I was always this, ma'am, I have this question, ma'am, I have that question. I was always asking a lot of questions. So this kind of led me to go inwards and ask those deep reflective questions about my life, about my choices. And that's when I realized a lot of decisions in my life, I had, been taking them. Something that was driving that was beliefs, which I had absorbed since childhood. It could be about success, safety, responsibility, identity, and whatnot. So I realized somewhere I was just like operating out of muscle memory. Okay, every day get up, go to college, teach, do, okay, these many classes, come back. Again, in that milli, you are like coaching, mentoring, training, doing all of it. But there was no awareness. I was not at all aware. It was just happening like autopilot. It's like someone is driving the car for you and then you're like enjoying. It's nice. There's no doubt about it. But the beauty of awareness was not there. So I always believed that. So if I'm thinking better, that means I will be getting better results. But little did I understand that there is a connection between thoughts and beliefs. So my beliefs shaped the way I was looking at things. So I was carrying a lot of invisible programs, which shaped the way how I thought, how I acted, how I, in fact, even decided so many things in my life. That kind of, really shook me. I'm like, what am I doing? Suddenly when this realization dawns on you, and then you're like, okay, what do I do next? Now that I'm aware of this is what I have to do, what next? So this kind of took me a lot more inwards. I can say this as a turning point. So, which came in when I began a lot of inner work with my own self. So, where I sought guidance, I asked for help. That is when, I started seeing the beauty of awareness, what awareness really offers. So, I started observing myself, the roles that I was playing, the patterns that I was repeating, most importantly, the conditioning that I was living. We've generally seen this how social or generational conditioning generally controls us. It could be ideals like, hey, you should solve all your problems yourself. Don't tell anyone about your problem. The minute you ask for help, that means you're letting the world know your weakness. They should not know your weakness. The minute they know your weakness, they'll manipulate you. So many conditionings, this way. So I lived all of these inside me, and they were like kind of bothering me, because uh, I really didn't understand all of this as to how a belief could really impact thought, and how a thought could impact an emotion and relationships, health, our life's choices in general. But this was really the turning point because I started looking at all of this very seriously. And eventually when this awareness kind of, it gave me so much of clarity. This gave me courage, aware. And that's why I really love so much about this belief work, because belief work brings in so much of awareness. That gave me that courage. You won't believe, Vinod, for 13 years, I was, as I said, I was just loving what I was doing, absolutely happy in that muscle memory zone. But I something was telling I have to leave now. It's time. I know I need better places to explore, but it was not happening. So because I didn't have the courage, because this whole concept of comfort zone was there, but this awareness gave me that courage to say, now it's time to step out of this comfort zone. Let's begin this beautiful journey of belief work, and that's how I stepped out of my comfort zone. By then I had like understood uh, this whole magical play between the surface level of mind and the inner core of mind, what really goes on, that we call it as the conscious and the subconscious. Talks, battle, war, however we can place that. So when these deeper layers of emotions, memories, trauma, conditioning, when we heal them, right, this is when transformation like really happens, and that is natural and organic. So it doesn't be like, okay, now transform, change, you don't like get up early, so get up early. So it doesn't look forced, right? It just organically happens for you. So as I went deeper, I began to see the powerful connection between health and beliefs, both physical and mental, and then how illnesses carry belief based roots. Like, say, for example, I mean, most of us at that time, we had heard about, people were talking about so many illnesses. Huh? Okay, it is there. You take medicine and that's about it. what I learned during this journey was, like, say, for example, thyroid, if I have to just take one illness, it's often connected with self-expression, or let's say fear of communication. So we generally think that it's just an hormonal thing, yes, but body is far more intelligent than mind, and when the mind doesn't process these thoughts or emotions, it, the body takes it up. So it takes it up on itself, and that's how it shows. And when these patterns are brought into awareness, right? So, oh, is it like, if I have a thyroid problem, so if I ask myself sometimes simple questioning can do great impact. Do I really have a problem of communication? That one slight awareness can trigger so many possibilities for us to, explore, look at what can be done deeply, and so on. So when these awareness, when it hits the awareness, is when they are healed, and when it is healed is when the body actually starts to respond. So this is why I really feel that belief work is totally non-negotiable, and that's what I firmly believe. So today, as you beautifully introduced me, yes, so today my work is on helping people take this conscious control of their inner system and not just be in that muscle memory zone or autopilot zone, but consciously take charge of their inner system through what I call it, as you beautifully put it, which is the design of self-expression. So it's a cycle. So what happens, Vinod? It's like we always think that it's just thoughts, but each of it, if you really go back and look into the dictionary meanings of all this, there's so much more hidden in it. So it starts with, it's loop. So it starts with belief. So whatever belief we have, and then belief impacts our thoughts. Thoughts have an impact on our emotions, and emotions again have an impact on our feelings. So how am I feeling? Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Am I happy? Am I sad? So the feeling part is again very important in belief work, because only when, like, say for example, one of my clients, they had shared that, Kritika, what do you mean by happiness? I don't feel it. I don't know what it is to be happy. So they, only when they feel, when they know what it is to feel like to be happy, is when they will start welcoming such positive patterns in their life. So feeling work really forms the crux of belief work. So then feelings have an impact on our behavior. Behavior has an impact on our experience, and then finally experience is what happens or leaves an impact on the belief. So it's like it loops back, so it's a cycle, and we need to, so which means changing one, so simple, just by changing the belief you can really change everything, because thoughts we can monitor them temporarily, emotions we can regulate temporarily, but once we change the belief, we know this whole cycle is going to see that positive impact. So this is something which truly motivated me to start this. Firstly, get out of my comfort zone and take that step, that leap of faith, and say, okay, yeah, this is it. But it didn't happen instantaneously as soon as I left, because this whole process of inner work that I was doing with my own self, that led way into something so profound. I would call it as belief work.
Beautiful. These are all straight from the heart, which is being articulated and it is being manifested too. I could resonate with one word which Eckhart Tolle used to say about hear your inner voice. So I think, and he also put across voice over the head. So something is, putting that probably could be the thoughts, the
No, that is
beliefs,
true.
right?
Beliefs, yes.
Now, everybody are not as intelligent as Kritika. So the challenge which a normal person would be is, I know I am capable, but I need validation. किसी से भी मुझे अरे कर रहे हो यार, I am there for you, do it.
Right.
But I don't get that right motivational force, extrinsic motivation, if I call it as.
Right.
There could be coaches, trainers, mentors, but at the end of the day, they'll also say, come on, you have to take the first step. We'll be there with you.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
from your niche area, what would be your advice to those people who are having self
limiting belief patterns?
Mm. So, to all of those, if I have to say, who have these self-limiting, belief patterns, the first thing is to focus on asking powerful questions. So, let's say, for example, uh, again, I will give my own scenario here. I'm a person who loves like trekking, going on treks, doing, nature. I've always believed that nature has so much to offer to us to learn free of cost without any effort. So I was someone who always loved this. I was doing, preparing, and everything. And also bring this point of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra here. While I had to go on that particular trek, it's like, can I do it? Will I be capable? I know for me, the preparation went on for almost a year. So, a year of preparation is needed. So, you have to walk these many kilometers every day. Your body needs to get acclimatized to the different terrains there. The mind needs to get used to. So, I knew I was preparing all of this, but these limiting thoughts, beliefs come to say, can I really pull it off? Can I really do it? Like what will happen, what will happen if there is no oxygen, all of these questions. Will I die? What will happen then? How will people come back? How will someone, such deep things, thoughts were going on in my mind. But whenever we are faced with such limiting beliefs, I would say asking powerful questions. So powerful questions like, okay, what is the fear? What is the worst that can happen? Okay, I will die. Yeah. Okay, what next? So what after that? So the minute I ask such deeper questions, the mind doesn't have answers to it. So it's like, yeah, I know I'm going to die. Okay. Yeah, if I die, that's it, right? Like, what's next? So the fear level automatically comes down. Then what am I worrying about? What would happen? And then it goes deeper. So for me, when I kept asking these questions, it went deeply like, see, because I I love Shiva so much. And what if I cannot finish the parikrama? So people will question that, oh, she's such a big Shiv Bhakt. She wasn't able to complete the parikrama. Then what is it? So when I started addressing these, so only when we ask questions, see now, there was no point in me judging this side of me to say, hey, how can you even think like this? So are you doing one side of my brain or mind is asking, so are you doing this parikrama so that people will acknowledge that you as a Shiv Bhakt has completed the parikrama or why? So there's no point in judging to say, how can you think like this? How can you think like that? It's about letting mind throw whatever it has, but we don't have to take it. And when you're focused or centered in the heart, we know, it's like just like a child where we don't judge anything, take in all that which comes, but give it a response which it feels satisfied and convinced. So then I told, okay, I understand that you're concerned about all of these are minor dialogues. What was your fear as Shiv Bhakt could not complete the parikrama? Is it that or is it much more? So when you're going to place your trust, faith, and belief in him, and more than anything, we are no different than Shiva. This whole feeling of Shiva and we are one and the same. So then where is the fear? So imagine this realization of Shiva and I are one and the same didn't come in the initial, because we are looking at the surface level mind thoughts. Only when we go deeper and ask questions is when the beliefs start to come out. And when beliefs start to come out, we would be able to address it by asking powerful questions. So we ask questions like, how is it serving me? What am I benefiting out of it? The minute we ask, not more, just these two. How is this serving me? What is it trying to teach me? These two things. So when we just understand and place these questions, we start to feel so like, huh, okay, I understand now. Because we are operating now a subconscious belief, not operating at the conscious level. And conscious operates only on logic. So when we ask those logical questions, even to a subconscious belief, it becomes easier to surpass. So, yeah, this will help anyone who has limiting beliefs in processing it, going slow, go deeper within. So nothing is outside, everything is within. So the minute we keep tapping all of it inside, we get answers and we'll be able to really hit the dart on those limiting beliefs.
Wow. Very beautifully said. Everything is within, or the power of now. The dialogues are coming up.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. One thing which I could see, Kritika, as a personality, you had the art of questioning from your childhood.
Yeah.
That's a strength. So
Right.
it's like, okay, reflective thought. Okay, chalo, iska kya hota hai? Do jagah. Then again go back. So like an Ishikawa theorem, you go to the root cause analysis. Yeah, so which is God's gift. In the last 13 years of your different experiences, I'm sure a lot of transformation would happen. This is not so easy because a client has to accept one, open up second, and believe in your belief.
Yes.
So,
Right.
one incident where you can just share that transformation, which you are as a mentor, as an experienced coach, you are able to give it to them.
No, that is very true with what you said, because it's all about, and in fact, I would start off by saying this in the process of me starting out. One key challenge that I found was how am I going to even like market? As you rightly said, first they need to work on themselves, their own belief, and then have to like build on something. So it's definitely not easy. So one of the things that I faced what in this whole period when I started noticing, like how people struggle or what is it, my observation. People are okay in listening to their own stories from someone else, right? Like someone says that, hey, listen, your strengths are this, you are niches, this, then you go channelize your energy, put it into this direction, you will see success. So but in my deep research, what I understood was it's easy. And you can't blame people. It's very human and psychological because we have gone through so much. Our brains have consumed so much that there's no more energy left to do anything like self work or belief work or anything for that matter. So as long as someone is telling, do this, do this, do this, you will get this result in this many days, I'm ready to do it. So this was like a biggest marketing challenge for me also to put across something to people to say, hey, why you should be doing this, right? Now, anyone for that matter can come and ask me, right? I mean, why should I spend so much on a belief work knowing I will, for me, it okay, and still keep like for the thyroid example. It's okay. I'm popping pills. It's fine. My life is going. I can't stay invested so much in whatever it is. True. Such people, it comes in terms of readiness. So, and readiness is not easy because it comes over time. So, embracing something, as you said, they have to believe in this whole process. So, they have to take responsibility. So, this is something, in my case also, I took a lot of time to take that responsibility to come on this journey of what I really felt was so profound, leaving a full time job, well paying job, which is so secure, which gives you stability, predictability, everything. I mean, life is kind of settled, right? But it's so familiar. You know that it's not a very good thing. It's not good for growth at the end of the day. In my experience of so far, all of those who have come to me have naturally inclined towards to say, hey, Kritika, I know, like say, for example, one of my clients who had liver issues. She came to me at a time to say, see, I know that I have been diagnosed with grade 1 fatty liver. I know this is the issue, but I'm also taking medicines, but I know that there's something more to it. And I want to know what is that something more. I know that once I tap into that segment, I know I can clear off a lot of problems. So, in that quest of knowing what is that more, we went on the journey, understood, realized what are the limiting beliefs, how it is serving, what are the lessons, all of it. And then she was really able to see, and the point here is it doesn't happen instantaneously. It's a process, right? So it takes at least minimum 3 months. I mean, imagine our body is carrying something for years together. So obviously change or let go of it in few minutes or few hours or few days. It takes time. So for her also, she was able to see that change, to say, wow, now when I see my report, my liver is back to normal. I feel happy because now I know that I'm aware. So even when a thought comes, I know how to process it and not leave it, as it is, unattended. So in simple terms, I started speaking the language the client or the people who I serve understand. So one thing I understood that no one wants to, yes, they love listening to their own stories, but I try to create a platform where they get to create their own story, where they get to lead. It's like you get to direct your film. It's as simple as that. So it's a very experiential journey. The sessions flow in such a way that you're like, oh, is this how it is? Is this something that I was thinking? So it opens up so many portals for you that you realize that who is creating this journey. So in a nutshell, to answer to what you asked, why would someone even come? How to tap into it? It's an experiential journey. So I can only say this is how it will be. But to feel it, one, yes, that person needs to be ready, at least a little, and then have faith, even if not in the belief work, at least have faith in themselves that they are approaching something which was going to help them transform.
That again puts across that I am very much ready to support you. Just come over. I'll take you through that beautiful journey.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Very much.
Since you gave a lot of insights, now assume that my sleeps are getting disturbed. I don't know anything. My wife or my family are telling, we know your sleep is completely gone. You're scrolling your Instagram at 3 a.m. What happened to you?
Right.
Now, what
Right.
is the next step? How can I approach Kritika and what is the process as a beginner? What should I do as to understand the self transformation journey with Kritika?
Right, right. So to understand this self transformation journey, one, as you said, realization is the key. Either the person realizing or someone in their family realizing. Okay, so the minute the realization comes, something is not okay. So I'm not sleeping properly or I'm not sleeping enough, whatever. So when this realization dawns, is the first step. The second step is having this willingness to stay invested in this beautiful life journey called life, where you're learning a lot of lessons, staying invested in that. So that's the second thing. Third, they can approach any person who is doing this as a mentor, coach, counselor, therapist, or anyone who is doing this belief work. In this case, as you gave an example, how they can approach me, staying invested and connected through my social media presence, or just to read about how belief work can change. That can lead up to me. And once it leads to me, how I take them on the journey of transformation or realization starts with first giving them this picture of what they can expect. In to start off with, it's going to be initially 6 sessions because that's the least, it's needed to see that kind of change or transformation. One session, nothing really works because you don't really experience anything. So to see that kind of a change, you need that bandwidth to say, okay, I'm now going to stay committed to this. But you also know the human psychology, right? We really fear taking that commitment because it's again all subconscious driven. Nobody can be blamed on it to say, hey, you're not responsible, you should be. No, they are doing or they are that way because of some subconscious belief which is operating. So the next step here is to take them on a journey to tell them what they can really experience in these 6 sessions. So it comes in terms to say, so this is going to be really, I'm going to tell you, it's like very experiential. So it first starts with understanding. So we dig deep. So we do a lot of things, it's like the discovery session, we call it. So where they really know what they can expect in these 6 sessions. And once they feel aligned to say, bang on, this is something which I really want to get into, then the next process starts where they start the journey of how they really unearth whatever is there within them. For those who don't feel aligned, I do reach out to them to say, this is how the beliefs are operating. Just to give you an example, one client of mine who, I don't know, very coincidentally related to the sleep problem itself, who had approached me. Uh, And they had this thing of everything was scheduled, call was there, and then we offer a discovery session, initial getting to know that connection building session. So everything was done, and then the person messaged and saying that, oh, sorry, I can't join the call, something has come up. Then we're like, okay, fine, no problem. Then again, something has come up, something has come up. It happened almost like 5-6 times. Then I understood that if 1 or 2 times is okay, but when it is happening, so somewhere the subconscious is trying so hard. Now it knows that if this person is going to get on to this sessions and is going to overcome the sleep problem, then that's going to cause a problem. See, because subconscious doesn't know what is right, what is wrong. Only conscious mind knows that this is right, this is wrong. Subconscious doesn't. So when I told that there is a fear related to this, because if you let go of it, that is, if you're now going to sleep properly, then there is something would happen, which is what the subconscious is fearing. So then that person was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting as to what it is, because I'm actually feeling uneasy. I'm not, now that I understood that what could be it, I think in the 7th session or something, the person signed up to say, okay. So in that process, that he also uncovered that there could be sometimes something very simple to say, if I sleep, that means, all my dreams are going to also sleep. So that was a belief that person had. So, which led him to always be awake, to stay awake, keep his dreams awake, and so on. So, this is like the process that, one can follow, then see the change. Then, after 6 sessions, we see if there's a follow up needed, if there is more time that is needed. So, sometimes I've done sessions which has gone up till 18. And then, sometimes we wind up with 6, sometimes it goes up till 10 or 12, and so on. So, it's a journey. And then we keep revisiting to say, so that the same old auntie doesn't pop up to say, hey, I'm this belief, I'm still there. So just to keep a check on that. So we keep revisiting. So this is like, it's like a continuous ongoing support they get while they are on this beautiful journey of self-exploration. And in fact, sometimes they come back and tell that, Kritika, now we know how the mind is actually thinking. So we only kind of put a plug to say, how to operate it. And when they say that, you've really empowered us on this path, so that every time I don't have to depend on someone to give me a solution to my problem, I feel, yeah, I have done my bit to serve people. That's about it, making people stay empowered.
I mean, that's a noble work. Just out of curiosity, I'm asking this question. Since you mentioned about all these, that personal belief or that, hidden thoughts, either it can be a block or it can be a fear. If I don't do this, something will happen. Therefore, I'm
Correct.
not doing, as you rightly mentioned about the sleep. Uh, this applies to all walks of life, right? Whether it's a businessman,
Yes.
anybody?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, for example, I had this fear of visibility. So I didn't want to be, oh no, what will happen if someone sees me? How will I handle it? So when I started doing deep belief work, see, because if I have to do business, I have to be visible. I can't say, okay, listen, I'm so and so, please buy my service. No one will buy. It's about authenticity, trust, and faith. And authenticity or honesty, trust, and faith is built only, seeing is believing, simple terms. So only if they see me is where they will believe me, right? Otherwise, why will anyone believe me? So I had this visibility issue. So the fact that today I'm sitting with you and so comfortably talking is because had you probably reached me like 2 or 3 years back, I would say, hey, no, Vinod, I'm not okay doing all of this. Let's do maybe just a call and then, end the session. So I had this visibility, so as a belief. So it's nothing, not just about physical aspects. It can be even aspects like these. It can be beliefs related. So I worked on my visibility part of it to say, what is my fear? What is my subconscious trying to protect me from? What is it gaining? How is it benefiting me? So when I started answering these questions, things became clearer. Okay, now I get it. And again, it all goes back into my childhood trauma, beliefs that I would have observed, and so on. It could also be to money related beliefs. Like I had this belief to say earning more money means illness. So I had to work on those things as well. So Belief work can be applied to anything from eating to sleeping to career to work to relationship, anything. Because, it's like, let's say you're playing hide and seek, and the fun ends, when we catch hold of all those people wherever they're hiding, right? That's exactly how it is. The minute we catch hold of what is hiding in the subconscious and it comes to the surface, it's like problem is solved.
I think this gives me that goosebumps statement, because many people say, Vinod, I am very much in a very discomforted situation to say no to others, which means that's also a belief, or
It's a belief,
there is
yes.
another layer of thought which is
Later,
going
exactly.
behind.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, this is exam phase. A lot of youngsters are there. Parents are also extremely worried. Yeah. What would be Kritika's as an experienced belief coach? What would be that tips or advice which you would say? Everybody says that every exam to head, don't worry, but everybody is worried. The teacher, the principal, the society, the dad, the mom. Probably the least worried is the kid.
Yeah. I know. Rest everyone is right. Um, it's one thing which I will tell from. I always believe I'm a student because every day there is so much of learning that we get to do. So from that student mindset, and with 15 years you can say of teaching, but very important is to build on awareness. How aware is the mind? Why am I thinking whatever I'm thinking? So that becomes really important for everyone to focus on, is building awareness. Yeah, skills you keep building, but please do build awareness. Awareness is really essential. Learning how to learn, very important, because this is again connected to awareness, I would say. Learning how to learn, because that eases so much. The next thing I would say is focus on building emotional intelligence and get into belief work as early as possible, because that is the key. You can tame a pet when it is very, very small. Uh, Likewise, we can deal with beliefs when we are very young, because as we grow, that many more beliefs is getting accumulated and we are carrying it. So really focus on belief work. Just just focus, be aware. Simple. Just be aware. Most important thing here is to do things even before you're feeling ready. Because this is again personally I'm saying, because I always told myself that no, this is not the time to leave my job. Time is not right, this is not right, that is not right. So it's not about time, so start before even you're feeling ready, and focusing on how you're going to look at long term thinking and building patience. So this becomes the key, I would say. And the last and the most beautiful thing, which I've personally believed as a very, very important lesson to most youngsters, not just youngsters, to anybody, is investing in a mentor or a coach or a guide. So it's not that only children need, in school need mentors, or in college need mentors. Anyone, me, everyone needs the help of, a mentor or a coach or a guide, whatever, however we may term it. This again, I take this lesson from my Kailash Mansarovar Yatra when I was on my ascension, where I'm like, doing the parikrama. I had a Sherpa with me for whom I'll always be grateful. So as we were like climbing, so I just asked him. I mean, it's so nice, right, for you people that you get to climb so many mountains and it may be so easy for you. It doesn't even like look like a challenge to all of you. You're guides yourself, so you can climb any mountain that you wish to, right? And then it's like you don't even need guides, I told. And then that person came back so beautifully, and that has stayed with me even today, is he said, "अरे नहीं मैडम, हम भी गाइड्स लोगों को लेके जाते हैं." He said, I said, "वो आप भी गाइड्स को लेके जाते हैं?" हाँ, not because हमें रास्ता पता नहीं इसीलिए हम लेके नहीं जाते. Not because we don't know the path or the route we don't take. Because it's an experience. Every day is different. Every climb is different. And nature changes every day. That one word when he said, "अरे प्रकृति तो मौसम तो हर रोज बदलता है. So which means we are all subject to change. So embrace that beautifully, and to embark on that beautiful journey, you need someone to walk with you. So staying invested, connected with mentors or coaches is something really, really very crucial. I would say all of them, I mean, not just youngsters, have that, because that person is going to bring that experience. And that experience is what really makes our life so beautiful.
Very powerful messages that you have given. Definitely, awareness is the mantra which you have said. And from
Yes.
awareness, I have to build on asking powerful questions, which is
Yes.
another beautiful version. And to support, because as a human being, sometimes I myself will, let down. So you need somebody, either we call it as an invisible force, but can't we have a visible force like a mentor? The physical level also, it will say, Vinod, come on, it's possible. Come, let's go for
Yes.
another trek. So,
Absolutely.
and that's enough for me for a transformation. Once I go through that powerful questioning and understanding, Ritika is very well articulated. You are reimagining the root of human beings. So I think wish more and more accolades come to you. And I strongly believe this theory or this framework should be developed as a PhD thesis, because let it go to the scientific community also. Okay. Up to this level you have come, so I'm sure you can go to the next league also. So very
Thank you.
happy for accepting our request and being on our show. It was truly lovable, a great experience for all of us. And with that, we are coming to the end of the show. For any section of what Kritika said, if you're able to resonate, if you're able to feel it, put it on comments, share it on the media. Good voices, sweet points have to be heard. It has to be spread. And that's all what we can do. And once again, thank you, Kritika. It was so lovely. Thanks a lot. Closing remarks, if any.
Thanks. Thanks to you. Thanks to all of them. I must say, this is really such a beautiful platform, doing such meaningful work, reaching out to people, helping them grow. And let me tell you, he's a mentor, coach, guide in himself, guiding so many people in such a beautiful way. I must say to you, to this platform, and to all of you viewers, because meaningful work becomes meaningful when someone is able to understand that it is meaningful. But yeah, thanks to you. Thank you so much for having me today.
All the best. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.